her. Somewhat a philosopher, leading pack of some followers. Heart can't get any hollower. My head is a haunted house. Dead when I'm down and out. Resurrect as I find the route. I pray when I'm in hell now. Paintbrush pusher, big booty squisher, tight pack swisher.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox Tuned In. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time.
All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
What up, Edward Bernier?
Hello.
What up, man?
Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
Yeah, great to see you again.
You as well.
Yeah, and dude, I'm so excited to talk about your new album, Who Art in Heaven.
It's been a crazy journey.
Oh, man, I can only imagine, and I am so stoked to get into it. But before we do, just for anybody who's tuning in now and hasn't heard of you or seen you before, just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I am a hip-hop producer. I perform. I write music. I do paintings, oil paintings. I do photography, some video editing, acting, all the art things.
I was going to say, do you do any writing? Are you a graphic novelist or a visual or a literary novelist?
Just lyrics.
Okay. Hey, that still counts. That counts. Do you do any poetry?
I used to.
Okay, so there we go. There we go.
To turn into.
Yeah. I mean, that's usually the logical path.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you get into music and you do poetry, they gonna smush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
Hell yeah. Well, we are here to talk about your new album, and we're gonna kind of dive right into it. If y'all were listening to the intro, you already heard the very first track, "My Dead Dogs," and I'm gonna be honest. You just got right into it. You came out swinging.
That's what I wanted to do.
Right from basically the first line. Like, I was locked in. You were clearly locked in, and your flow was so tight. It was so put together, and it's not a lighthearted track. Like, it definitely you wanted to set a really strong tone early on.
Yes, I did.
And you did it. But on top of that, the sound was crisp, the beat was solid, and a little tempo switch up at the end. That's a nice little touch. I'm a fan of those.
Thank you.
But like, just as an opening track, solid.
Thank you.
Great way to start it.
Thank you very much.
Before I get into my first question here, do you have anything you'd like to share about it?
It was produced by my good friend Brooks Beats. I want to give a shout out to him for sure. He just went all in, and I heard it the first time, and I was just like, I need this to be on the album.
Yeah.
And he did an amazing job. It was beautiful, and I just felt it.
Hell yeah.
Felt it.
Hell yeah. And then again, I get into the questions then. I am a little curious, what made you choose that as the first track? And then, if you don't mind me asking, why did you choose to open with that instead of the skit that happens a couple tracks after?
So basically, I did want to kind of hook everybody in with some, dark undertones a little bit, I wanted to grab the listener by the ear, and share, the journey that I've been on as far as, all the people that I've grew up with and that I've lost, that, it's basically just saying I'm still here and I'm still doing it. And it's for your honor and all the people that, helped me out on this journey, that are no longer here with us. So I just wanted to give it out to them for sure. And the very first sound that you kind of hear is crows, if you pay attention to it. And that's kind of like a small bridge from Listen to Seed to the beginning of Who Art in Heaven.
Gotcha. Okay. So very intentional for sure.
Sure.
And again, solid track. Really, really a cool way to open it. Because again, there's no fat in that track. You were cutting it through bell to buzzer, and it really just it was the second I heard it, I was like, okay, this man is serious. Like he did not come to play any games. This is going to be an experience.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive on into the next one then. This track's called On a Cloud.
Hear me out. Inclination of world domination is imminent. Although my soul is infinite, just ask Eminem. My penmanship is changed and transferred to typing messages. Hoping that my children hear they children go and spit this shit. The diary of an American Sumerian.
All right, and we're back. Now that track definitely, it kind of stayed more in the vein of the first track. I got to point this one out early. The bass line in that one, big fan. As a bass player myself, I heard that. I was like, can I learn this? No. We don't have time for that. But it is super cool. And as far as early on goes for the album, it definitely had some of your like hardest lines.
Thank you.
Like there was a bunch of them where I was like, whoo!
Yeah.
I gotta put this track down.
Yeah.
Like it was just you came out swinging on that one too, and I thought you already had started in the beginning with it.
Right.
So like it kept kind of that theme going for the beginning, and also I really appreciate the one line hook. If you can even call it a hook, it was more just like a turnaround.
Right.
But like the fact that it was actually there, like it constitutes what would be considered a chorus almost.
Right.
Almost. But you did it more than once, so it's it's actually in there.
Yeah.
And it just kind of gave it because you were just going the whole down. Your delivery was a little more cold, a little more bitey, but like those two moments, because it only happens twice.
Right.
It really did give the track this extra dimension.
Right.
And so I really appreciate it. I thought it was a nice touch. It was just this little bit that gave the track something really cool.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want to do. It's told less is more, even when it comes to even choruses, I don't want to like make it so big. I want it to be relaxed and chill, but still create that dimension of, creating more just realms in it. And I think it's super important to not always just stack things up on themselves or they have to be the specific thing. Screw that. I'm gonna just do what I like to do. And that's it.
No, definitely. And like I said, it kind of gave the track a little, because it was, it is the title of the song. So it was nice that I had it in there to like kind of key you to it. And it also made you listen to those moments a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there it is. And then you, like I said, you just keep getting back into it.
Yeah.
And you just bodied that track.
Yeah, I don't like wasting time. Shout out Khaled. He's the producer. Amazing cat out of Beaverton. Wanted to go smooth, but I still loved how much is going on in the track as far as all the sounds. There's like a lot of sounds in there, but they're kind of put together really well.
Yeah.
They kind of bounce off of each other, and it's like different sounds that you normally wouldn't hear put together. He did that, and I was really happy with On a Cloud.
Definitely. And I think it set up kind of a good space for like, not so much maybe even the rest of the album, but it kind of built a presence, because like the first track, it was very like straightforward, especially on the beat wise, and then that second one, the beat was a little more opened up. Your delivery stayed consistent between the two. They were different, but they were similar enough that you're like, all right, I have familiarized myself with his approach. I've familiarized myself with his sound. So like there's a comfort in those two tracks for how early on they are to like really kind of set a stage.
Yes.
Now, whether or not that stays the same is yet to be determined by the rest of this conversation. But let's go ahead. We've already kind of talked about the track together. I'm going to jump into this next question here, and we're going to get an easy one out of the way. How'd you pick the name?
On the cloud. I mean, the sample.
Oh no, I'm sorry, for the album.
Oh, for the album. Oh, my apologies. Who Art in Heaven? Oh man, how did it hit me? I was gonna originally name it Who Art in Hell, but I felt like, maybe it's a little too dark for people and get all upset. And as the album starts to build itself, and I'm applying all these things together, like things change as that's going on. And what the album is, I don't want to give you the whole album, but Who Art in Heaven, I felt like was a expression that not a lot of people use, knowing that where I come from, I'm an artist, I'm a painter, I like to look at things creatively. So I felt like that that saying, that sentence just is not always like about art, and it just kind of sucks,
Yeah.
Hear it in the Bible and stuff like, oh, who art in heaven and stuff like that. But I wanted to bring it to the artist, I wanted to show them like, this is my heaven because of my art, and who else is with it.
Yeah.
That's basically how that came to be.
Oh yeah, I dig that.
Thank you.
See, when I read it, because again, I know you as a person, I thought it was more like a question and a statement, like who art in heaven, like who like does art in heaven, just with like a trimmed down version. So it is cool to hear.
And it is
Yeah,
like
I wasn't super far off from that. I really
you were
appreciate
not.
that. Hell yeah, that's rad.
Yeah.
All right, now let's go ahead and let's get on into a next track. And now this one, technically it's the skit.
It is the skit.
And I'm gonna be on, and I know you call them scenes. I'm just built in the realm where it's skits. You know what I mean? That's what I've come for. So when I say that, just everybody know that I do mean the scenes.
Expecting me. No, I'm just kidding.
And I am going to talk about them a little more at the end.
Yeah.
But because that is the next one, it's a little hard for us to go into. Right. So I did love the first one in particular a lot. So it's actually going to be the way this episode ends. So the outro is going to be that first skit.
Let's do it.
But since, again, it is not technically a track we could break down per se, we're going to go ahead and jump to the next one, which is I Got Something to Say, featuring Raidski.
Save my life while my friends try me for traps. Now I got a couple people definitely that'll stay. I know they'll be at my grave. I got something to say. It doesn't matter what you go through. It only matters who was there for you. I got something to say.
All right, and we're back. Now that track was a bit of a change up. A little bit quicker pace, a little more melodic. And obviously, I got to shout out past guest and friend of the show, Raidski. The first official feature on the album, definitely quality choice to have. And the track was a vibe. It had a bit more of a classic feel mix wise, but it didn't feel like a throwback track. You know what I mean? You two were in there, you're gassing the whole time. You're both like, you just you have that really strong, consistent delivery. He matched that in his own way. Very, very Raidski approach for sure. It felt like both y'all in your stride for sure.
Yeah.
So it was a cool track, especially after the skit, which again, we're going to talk about more at the end, but that really shakes things up. That feels like the first two tracks, I feel like set people expectation of you. And then that really set you up for,
it's like something.
Now something's coming. Now it is time to really get into it. And so that being the first track to come up after it, I think was a really, really fitting one for sure. And a theme that's going to kind of follow through for the rest of the album.
Yeah.
But that's kind of all I have on the track. Do you have anything you'd like to share before we get into the questions?
I produced it. It was
hell yeah.
It was a great experience. I've actually had that beat sitting for years prior to its release. But we had a music video with it, and it was just awesome to get Raidski to have a verse ready. He actually had already the verse written.
Oh, okay.
And he came over, and I was like, look, bro, I need to put something to this as soon as possible. I want you on my album. You're an amazing artist. You're one of my best friends. You got a verse for me? And he's like, I do. And it just worked out perfectly.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was beautiful.
Hell yeah. I love that. Well, definitely a super solid track. It worked out great.
Very much.
Now I kind of want to get a more technical-esque question out of the way. Was it all recorded and mixed and mastered in one place? Did you kind of do it throughout time and space?
So throughout time.
Yeah. And then how long did it take?
Oh, wow. So, when we dropped the song, which was probably about a year ago, last summer, the song had been sitting, the beat had been sitting for a while. And
again, more the whole album, not just the song specifically. You're all good. You're all good.
The album took about when we dropped. I Got Something to Say, I think was the first song on it, really. So, but I want to say 2 years though. It took about 2 years for Who Art in Heaven.
Okay.
It took, I had so many songs up, maybe a couple leftovers from Lucinda Seed that maybe weren't finished or anything. So I was able to cut some stuff off of Lucinda's, put it on, and then rework it to how it fits Who Art in Heaven. So 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. And then again, was it all recorded kind of in one place?
It was all recorded basically. My spot, my studio. Most of my beats that I produced were produced at my studio, and then the other ones were from the homeboys in the neighborhood.
And did you mix it and master it as well?
So I mixed pretty much everything. Yes, I did mix pretty much everything. We did this thing where I was kind of mastering, but something wasn't just like working, and so I just decided to give it up to the homeboy Khaled, who's a producer as well. He produced On a Cloud and Lobotomy. Yeah, he took it and he ran with it and did his own thing, and I loved it. I was like, okay, good. 'Cause this is taking too long. I need to get this project out.
Yeah. Also, I think the mastering is nice to have somebody else do anyways, because like the second, not so much that it's just like, somebody who is a professional mastering person is going to make it the best. It's just those second years.
Yep.
You need somebody who hasn't been listening to it for 2 years that can bring it all to a consistent point.
Right.
Like kind of glue it all together. Yeah. So it is good to have.
Tried.
Yeah. No, I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with it.
No.
But like when you have somebody else, it's nice because there's just going to be that added touch that kind of sticks them all together.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes you got to put your pride away and you got to hand it over to somebody else that may want it, and it's good for you,
Yeah. Well, then just like I said, somebody who hasn't been listening to it forever can approach it much more objectively,
right?
Especially if they weren't involved in so much of the rest of it,
right?
Like come in afterwards and be like, no, let me just make this as good as it can be with all the good stuff he already did.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? And I'm sure if he had like heard something that he thought was really not vibing, he would have been like, hey, maybe go back and check this out.
And he did.
Yeah. So
he made the project even better.
And I mean, it all sounds really good. So I think you made the right decision, and I'm sure you would have done a great job, but he did a great job.
Good. That's all I wanted.
Oh, yeah. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into oh, no, we're not jumping to the middle next. We're going to go ahead and jump into the next track.
All right.
This one's called Out of My Mind, featuring Soul Luna.
I'ma start a masterpiece even though that it's raining. I don't ever let it stop me. Now why would I be complaining? I'm just doing what I'm born to do, baby. Let me explain it. I ain't really got no patience.
All right, we're back. Now that track was interesting. That track was it was a little bit of a different feel. Another quicker track. The drums on that one were wild.
Thank you.
Wow. And the hook was very melodic. I assume that was Soul's addition to it. Yeah. And that didn't stop you though. Like you came in, you were letting it rip. You came in hot start to finish. Like you definitely, for like everything that he was doing to kind of keep it like, you were like, nah. You were like, no, I got some shit to say. I'm gonna say you really kept that kind of true and kind of locked that in. Even though, like the track itself, again, had a different feel. And again, that breakdown at the end, those little at the buzzer switch ups, really just you didn't do it every track, which is nice, but you brought it in on especially a really interesting one to have.
Yeah.
At like what is almost the halfway mark. So
right.
we're getting through it now. We're a couple of tracks past that the first skit, and so like. You're really setting the tone. You're really expanding on the kind of the setting of the album now.
Absolutely.
So it was a cool track to have. And again, do you have anything you'd like to share about it?
Shout out Soul Luna for being a part of it. I felt like, placing that song right after, I got something to say was kind of like, they're almost, related because the first two songs are kind of related. They have that same feel. And then after the skit, it's kind of like, okay, this is like, I got something to say. It's got this West Coast like feel, and then it's like, okay, now we're gonna have this like weed smoking song, but I want to do it different. I want to bar through this weed song. I just do, and it was awesome because I produced this one as well. And the end, I loved the end. I loved placing all the, deleting some sounds in this area and then letting him run, and it was just super fun. One of my favorite tracks on the album for sure.
Yeah, definitely a cool one.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get a little more in depth. And this one is kind of specific to this because you don't have too many features. Like, putting aside the skits where you did have people in them, you really don't have a large handful of features on tracks. So I'm curious to know, how'd you go about beat selection overall, and what made you decide to have the amount of features you had?
So with the beat selection, I wanted to kind of step away from, because Listen to Seed felt a little like there was one feel, though they were different songs, but something about Listen to Seed is its own thing. But Who Art in Heaven, I wanted to just blast out. I just wanted to just not care about the genre or, but make the beats dope.
Yeah.
The dope beats, bar out. That's what I enjoy doing. Writing in-depth stuff, like I know though my wordplay may not be as, pretty wild, but I feel like I do take time in some certain words I put together. And then as far as features, the first album I didn't have any feature except for one producer. So, shout out Brooks Beats. He did the Dogs. So I wanted to bring in some people that I just really respect and really care about, because it seems like they really care about their art. Not to say that about any other artist. Just something about these characters, these cats are just, felt important. I felt like that they had a home on the album.
Yeah.
As far as who they were, what they bring to the table, all that stuff.
Hell yeah. I love that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, in that case, let's go ahead and jump into the last track with a feature on it. We're going to skip to the middle for this one. This one's called Mood of the Kingdom, featuring Mighty.
Beheading some kings in the dead of the night, dethroning the swine that's been taking the lives. I can feel artists are coming together, but my window tells me the city's in embers.
And we're back. That was a really cool track. It was, like I said, the third and final one with a feature, and you let Mighty open it up, which I thought was a really cool touch.
Yeah.
Like his sound was different, and that is officially the middle way point for the music part of the album. So it was a really good palate cleanser, and it just, the beat was really interesting. It had that like medieval feel to it. But a fat enough 808 to slap the armor off of any night. Like, really, a little bit of the old, little bit of the new, and your flow was so cold.
Thank you, brother.
So cold. And I've said this before, I'm probably going to say it a few more times. I appreciate that even this late into the album, you're still bringing fresh deliveries. You're still bringing different sounding tracks. You're still just keeping the listening experience on its toes without like going way out there. You know what I mean? Like, you were still doing your thing. Like you said, you love bringing the bars. You love spitting hard. And you kept true to that for this one for sure. But it was still different. And it still felt unique, but it didn't feel out there.
Right.
But it is a really cool track.
Thank you.
So do you have anything you'd like to share about it?
Yeah, that one was pretty fun. Shout out Mighty. Amazing artist, cares about the community, wanted him part of the project. And so that's, I produced that one as well. It was really fun, finding that sample and just like, because there was like a bunch of things going on with like the women in the background singing and all that stuff, and it just all came together. I look at us as just nights on a journey, and that's kind of like what the song is about, really, in the city and everything that actually happens and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that one. That one's one of my favorites too.
Oh yeah, and I think that segues well into the next question then. Was there like a vision or a direction as the album was coming together? Like, were you like trying to move in a way, or were you just like feeling it out and like over time it just kind of became this?
That's kind of what I kind of do have an underlining, like, what is the album about? And how life is. You can pull things from anywhere and make them make sense, but I wanted them to like really kind of start to make sense towards the end of the album. But yeah, I was looking, well, at first I'm like, well, what is it going to be about? How am I going to follow up Lucinda Seed? And so, that's kind of, as the songs progress, as I'm taking things out, putting things in, it just starts to become a ball, and then when I'm getting towards the end, it's like, okay, now what are some finishing touches that I can to make it this whole new thing that it's became, while adding more stuff into it. So yeah. Clusterfuck.
Yeah, no, I dig that. All right, now let's go ahead and let's get on into this next track. And this is the big old title track, Who Art in Heaven.
Not many to trust, so what you really on? I just want to do art and manage my life, not be another human sacrifice. Put a flame to the pain and the pride in the city where it rains every other night. Who art in heaven when this planet continues to fail? Who are in heaven when this...
All right, and we're back. Now that was the title track. And usually that means it carries a little bit more weight to it. And you definitely delivered. I think it was a perfect blend of all the energy we've experienced up to that point. It was definitely one of the fullest beats on the album. It took you a little longer to come in, which gave the beat a little more time to breathe and kind of permeate the listening experience. And when you did come in, it was perfect. It was poetic even. Your delivery was very specific, very precise. And the hook was very spread out. You like slowed down for it. You really drove the message home. It was a really powerful track, and I mean definitely worthy of the name. But like I think just the way that you kind of gave it that little bit extra, just really it makes sense why it kind of either it had the title first and you gave it to the album, or vice versa. But I think it really, for being the title track, it really carried a lot of the weight.
Thank you very much. That one was produced by Radeski's brother.
Oh, damn.
Lab Syndicate.
Hell yeah.
I heard that. I heard the sounds. I said, that's it. That's the Who Art in Heaven title song. And it just clicked. And I wanted to let it breathe a little bit in this track. You know, it's kind of like, a lot of crazy stuff kind of going on in the beginning. Well, not in the beginning, but, you know, throughout it. And then it just hits you with this like, yo, this is a culmination of all those things together.
Yeah.
Apologies.
No, you're all good. Yeah, no, dude, it's a really cool track.
Thank you very
Big
much.
fan.
Thank you.
Now, as we are getting closer to the end, this is a question I like. This is kind of the point of the series. I am curious to know, what made you decide to go full album?
Because when I was younger, started to do the whole SoundCloud thing. You know, it was just singles. I was just so used to doing singles, and I didn't have a grasp on a freaking project.
Yeah.
And it just would tear me apart. I was just like, man, I need to make a project that's just, I've got more in me than I've got ideas in me that are just swirling around, and they need to be put down on a solid thing that can have a family with other, you know, projects and visions that can just mesh and become one big, you know, thing. And, you know, I'm so happy to get the second album out, because I wanted not only one, I want two solid projects. You know, it feels good to walk around with that.
Did you learn a lot from the first album to like apply to the process of this one?
Absolutely. I felt like I got faster. You know, I mean, Lucinda Seed probably took around, I mean, if you were to count me learning how to produce and all that wacky fun stuff, you know, that was probably like 4 years. But it got faster. Feel better. I feel like the sounds are better. I feel, you know, so it's definitely been a level up and quick, which is I'm very excited for.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, damn, that's rad. That's cool to know, and I appreciate that, because I grew up in the like album listening mentality, and even to this day, like every day I start my way to work with an album I've never heard before.
Right.
So it's just it's
cool.
Thanks to Spotify, you have a billion to choose from. So I just go based off of cover art and a name I don't recognize. I'm like, let's see what this sounds like.
Yeah.
50% of the time it's cool. 50% of the time, wasn't the most interesting 20 minutes of my life, but I still listen to it. Yeah, it's crazy how once you get past the first track too, you're like, wait a second, I get what.
Like, hold up. Yeah.
Sometimes they just don't open up right, but you're like, I get it.
You're like,
and if not, you know, I gave them some listens, so I'm not mad. But I think, you know, the album decision, the choice to make a body of work is such an important one in the world of music, that it's just like anytime people choose to do it, I'm always really appreciative of it. And hence why this whole thing exists.
Exactly.
But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. And we're going to go ahead and jump into more there towards the end. We're going to jump into the last two tracks here. And this next one's called Pagan Poetry.
I got some shadows inside of your tribe. Think what you will in your mind, but try to keep my name inside or your words might just eat you alive. Most of they claiming they need you till they hang you up inside the cathedral. They're drinking my blood and now eating my flesh and then breaking the bread that I made in the West. We have created a network of God.
All right, and we're back. Now, this might be a bit of a weird take, but that felt like the most straightforward track on the album. It not in like a bad way. It's not like you're like, it's a track. Like everything about it was solid. But at this point in the album, you have brought so much heat that the bar is real high. Like you've just been crushing it since we hit play at the very beginning. And every single track has been a hit, including this one. It's the only song on the track that I don't think broke the sound barrier. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those ones where you're like, yo, here's me doing my thing.
Right.
Beats real good. I'm real good. Bing, bang, boom. But, and I know this is a little bit of pre-shadowing and we can't talk about it until afterwards. It was, however, the perfect track to have right before the last song on the album.
Right.
So I I put those pieces together. But like I said, when I was listening to it, I was just like, everything's good. But every other track has been so wild that like this one almost kind of brought you back to center.
Right.
And that was a really cool experience in its own way.
Yeah.
So do you have anything you'd like to share about it?
Pagan Poetry. I feel like that it gave the music time to catch up with kind of like me, because it's kind of a faster track for sure. I'm barring out. I feel like I'm giving now the beat enough time to catch up with me and who like what I'm trying to say. And you know, the lyrics are meant to be looked at as a artist in Portland. You know, someone that
very much so.
You know, that maybe feels unappreciated, that maybe sometimes often feels like they've been used, you know. And so I kind of wanted to focus Pagan Poetry because, you know, it's after the third scene, I believe. So the song was supposed to kind of like recenter. You're right. It was supposed to recenter because in this part of the album, like things are kind of getting like not dark, but
well, they kind of are. Yeah.
You know, and I wanted the sounds of these sounds. Like these songs were specifically put at the end because it's like these are when things are starting to get like mystified, and like the message is more like even more like esoteric-esque, you know. So that's why there was a certain change from that song on toward the rest of the album. So I really enjoyed that.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Now, because there is only one actual song left here and then the skit afterwards,
right.
I'm gonna ask
Pagan, then Dance Around the Fire, then
oh no,
Lobotomy.
Oh no,
it's all good.
I thought Dance Around the Fire. My notes here were out of order. Okay. Well then, y'all, we're not listening to that one next. We will be jumping to the last track on there, but I've still got a question to go. And because we're basically nearing the end here, I'm going to ask what I think is a difficult question. What are some of your favorite tracks on the album?
All of them? No. Okay, so ones that really stand out would probably be, would I give you one or two?
Yeah, multiple is fine. I mean, I never would want to make somebody pick one.
Right.
That's rough.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
No, okay.
What's your most favorite and why?
I felt like Who Art in Heaven, I Got Something to Say, Out of my mind, Pagan, Dance Around the Fire, Lobotomy.
Okay.
Probably my top favorites because they kind of were like the song, like, this is how you are, Edward, but how can you be who you are, although having a different aesthetic to like your beliefs and like what you're writing about. So how can I tone these things down, but still, you know, bar out, have fun?
Yeah.
How can I bring new knowledge? How can I bring new perspective? I felt that those songs were perspective driven, and yeah, they just kind of Lucinda Seed, Edward, updated.
Gotcha.
Those songs.
Okay.
And that's like my realm. And I want my realm to update, you know, while bringing fresh new ideas, fresh new perspectives, fresh new beliefs. And I want to show, you know, my surrounding area, Portland, Pacific Northwest, all of that. Yeah, those are my favorite songs off the album.
Oh yeah,
and the skits. I love the skits.
Man, I have things to say about it very shortly, so I'm gonna save it till there. But we are getting to the last song on the album. Would you like to introduce it?
Lobotomy Photography.
You turned down my eyes, so no light could ever get through to you. Damn, I know you don't want to be in my...
All right, we're back. Now that track was exactly what I was talking about before. Even on the last track, you were bringing us something different. And it was rad. It was super melodic. It was very synthy. It had like hints of The Weeknd, but obviously you weren't trying to be The Weeknd. And it was so unexpected.
Thank you.
That was the last song on the album before the closing skit, and it was cool, man. It was actual singing, and not only that, it wasn't just you switching it up for a moment to then just go back to bars at the end.
Right.
The whole song, start to finish, was just music.
Yeah.
And it was cool because you could tell it was you, but you also felt like it wasn't for a second. You know what I mean? Like, it felt that the voice was different enough,
Right.
that like, I know you as a person,
Right.
so like I know what your voice actually sounds
Right.
like, but it just felt so emotion driven. It was so vivid and textural.
Absolutely.
That it really it was such a cool way to like close out the music.
Yes.
And I really appreciated it. I ended up listening through it a couple of times because I didn't know how to even approach my notes on it. I was like, man, what is it about this track? Like, why does this one stand out so well and so powerfully? And it's just a really great way to end it, especially because the skit that comes after it is bananas.
Thank you.
So like, that was just
Like,
yeah, very much so. So it was really cool experience, man. I really liked it.
thank you. Lobotomy photography is, I guess, the final end before the scene ends. It's just and it was real singing. I didn't use no auto tune. Effects, of course, but this was for the listener to look in the mirror and see that they can do this, with practice, with what you love to do. When you have a new idea, like, oh, I'd love to sing, like, you shouldn't be afraid to do it. You should practice it. You should, and that's kind of like what the last song was about in Who Art in Heaven, because, I wanted people that you can do anything. You can fucking do anything you want. You put your head to it, put your mind to it. And I want to show people that through barring out and producing most of this album and, bringing friends in from the community that I love, I give a fuck about. And then, driving it home with this lonely song about love and, expression. Though it's like, damn, dude, like, this is a rapper, dude, who is putting on this singing song, and it's about, love, really, or I wouldn't say love, but almost love.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I wanted Who Art in Heaven to kind of end out.
Yeah.
It was already wild through most of the album, so I wanted to kind of bring it down to a girthy song of singing, and I was scared. I was scared to do it, and
there was a vulnerability in it for sure.
Absolutely.
Like, it was one of those fun, because like you said, there was an auto tune on it. You were really getting in it. It was like it had this really honest feel to it.
Thank you.
It was really special, man. I really appreciated that
so
track.
much.
Yeah.
And yeah, like The Weeknd, like, he's definitely inspired me to sing again. I was in choir when I was a kid, and I only did it for a couple years, but I really enjoyed it and I loved it. And, then growing up, you want to try new things, and then now it's come back full circle.
Yeah.
So kind of like the album, and it's weird. You make these projects that actually reflect your life and like things that you've gone through, and it's just one big painting, and thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Some people were kind of like, oh, you want that to be the last, like it might be just a halt, like it could be a crashing halt, but with the skits, I felt like it kind of brought it down,
Well, that's a weird take too, because it's the last song on the album. Where are they going to go after? You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to put an experimental track, put it at the end. If anybody's made it to the end, they're going to appreciate the listening experience anyways.
Exactly.
That's a silly take. But also, this is a weird one I always reference, but Gorillaz' Demon Days album is one of my favorite of all time.
So good.
And Fire Coming Out of the Monkey's Head.
Yeah, dude.
Like the Don't Get Lost in Heaven track. Like,
yeah. I love that album.
The way that they end it, like, it's so just bizarre and out there, and it's just like the story leading up to it, and then that like super choir-esque, like it was such an abstract album in its own right, and like somewhat conceptual.
Yeah.
That by the time you get to that moment, you're like, there are no holds barred.
Yeah.
Like this track is accepted because like we've already listened to things like White Light and
Right.
Yana and like all this stuff. Like
Right.
the whole album was basically everything but Feel Good Inc.
Right.
And so like, you know, it just, it those types of moments not only show range
Right.
for the artist, but it's music, man. Like there's so much that can be done. Like why limit yourself to one lane? If you're going to put honest effort into it and an honest experience comes out of it. And I think you did a great job. Like it's not like you were super pitchy or like it sounded like it was recorded with a $2 mic. Like, you know, you put all of the stuff in the right spot and then you gave it a genuine effort.
Thank you.
So it translated perfectly. And I think it's a great way to end
I
it.
was scared shitless.
Oh, I would have been for sure. Like I am definitely not a singing man, if you could tell by the gravelness of my voice, the gravitas, if you would.
What a wonderful world.
Yeah, hey, I mean, but like, it felt good, man. It was a really cool track.
Thank you. I appreciate that
Yeah.
so fucking much.
Now, I have said so many words in that moment, and now I got to do my wrap up.
Let's do it.
So
Wrap it up.
I'm just, you know what? I'm just gonna get into it right now.
Let's go.
And I apologize in advance. It's a lot of words, but we're gonna squeeze through this.
Get it.
So I'm actually, first of all, I'm really excited for this one because I love a concept album,
Thank you.
and I think that was just a great way of like you had the concepts and the skits and the cutscenes were fucking cool, man. Like they were beyond cinematic. I could see everything. They were textural, they were expressive, and they set the tone in such a way that like the messages that were in the tracks, the decision to place the tracks the way you did, the way that they all kind of happened, that the music kind of breathed based upon how the scene set them up.
Right.
And so that was just a really like harmonious experience and just made for this like big element to occur within it. But aside from that, aside from that, the arrangement was perfect. The beats were all top notch. Your delivery, and I know I've made single comments on every single track that we've talked about, but I gotta say, man, the attention to detail on every line, the effort that went into it, the making sure that it was completely dialed was so apparent. Like it was clear that you thought through every moment of this. You weren't just going in being like, I'm gonna freestyle all this. Like the words were there. You brought so much more than just your A game to the table. And I'm really excited to know what like people think, to get them to hear, because there is a caliber of music on this album, man. You did something really special with it. It's genuinely, it's a no skip album all the way up to the last track and then some. It's a really awesome experience.
Hold up. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It means the world to me.
Yeah. So that's what I have to say about it, man. I think it's really cool and I appreciate you for making it.
Of course, man. And I love sharing art with, people of the earth, I like taking the experiences that I've been through in my past, of what I've learned, what I've been through, and just kind of make it sound good and do it in different ways and hopefully change, people's lives with, how they see themselves as artists, or maybe they could do better. Maybe they can go deeper. Maybe they need a little less. I just want to be a symbol of good, in-depth art, whether it sounds surface level. I just want people to just like kind of look in a little deeper at themselves, and that they can do, more.
Yeah.
They can convey deeper meaning. They can create their own perspective, things like that. I think it's super important for artists to do that. And, in turn, you make your environment better. More art.
Hell yeah, man. That has always been your catchphrase, and I think it holds true very well through this one. So I really appreciate you for sharing it.
Thank you, man.
All right, now I do have one last question to go, but we're going to go ahead and knock out the wrap-ups real quick.
All right.
I do see you brought a pretty cool piece of art with you.
I did.
So do you want to grab it real quick and tell us about it, and then do your your plugs and hats and things, and I'll give you the whole screen for this part.
Can you see me? Where am I at? Is this good?
Yeah, you've got the whole screen for it.
All right. So this is the album cover that I hand painted with oils. So if you flip it this way, I'm upright. But So, I mean, I guess the meaning of the album cover was just, I got my bird wings, I got my bat wings. I wanted to add like that duality, of course. I wanted to add like my little machine, my little machine 2.0, like a canvas, microphone, paintbrush, City of Portland, and a chair, a throne where a crown is held. Though I don't want the crown, I just want to be not the king. I just want to inspire others. That's all. That's all I want. I just want to be above rating people on, skills. It is important, but, art is important. I think that that's important more than who's the best. Just be the best you. That's the album cover, basically. And plugins as far as you can find me on YouTube, Edward Bernier V, on Spotify, Edward Bernier, Bernier. Facebook is the same, Edward Bernier. Instagram, Edward Bernier V. So if you look up Edward Bernier and can't find it, just put a V at the end and you should be able to find it.
Hell yeah.
Subscribe.
Yeah. And dude, thank you so much for sharing and bringing that in.
Of course.
Yeah. All right.
More art.
Now, like I said, I've got one last question, but before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
Let's get it.
Yeah. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And, you've already been asked the regular final question before, so we've modified it a little bit for these. What is an album that inspired you during the making of this album?
Album that inspired me during the making of this album. I think a lot, I remember last time I said Food was one album that I believe everybody should listen to that's really abstract and stuff like that and very artistic. So I would probably have to go with probably something like, well, I wouldn't say I was listening to an album while making this, but
yeah. So just during the time, what were some things you were listening to that just
I was listening to a lot of Tupac, Weekend, MF Doom, some Ryan Celsius. Was listening to some Good Not Bad.
Oh hell yeah,
they're dope.
Wait, isn't it Bad Not Good?
It's
yeah.
Is it Bad Not Good?
I think.
Did I say good?
Now you're getting me all twisted, but knew what you meant.
You know what I mean. So those guys are dope. Growlers, the Growlers.
Oh, hell yeah,
I love the Growlers. They're amazing. But if I were to give it to an album, I probably would give it to Good Kid, Mad City. It's just the whole skits and everything just coming together. I just, man.
I mean, that's kind of Kendrick's bag. You know what I mean? That man is the king of narratives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so damn inspiring, especially when you can do it a different way. It is hard because skits are there's only so much you can do, kind of, unless you get really fucking creative, dude, you know, and that's what needs to be put out, and Kendrick is killer out here.
Hell yeah. No, one of my favorite conceptual albums. It's a weird take because he's definitely not my favorite artist.
Right.
But Logic's, what is it, The Greatest Story Ever Told, or the Greatest Untold Story?
Sure.
Yeah, the that one. The one where it's him in space. He's got the voice actor who did Spike from Cowboy Bebop.
That's so fucking cool.
Yeah, that is
Never heard it, actually.
It's a really cool album because from start to finish, it has this really cool movement. So in the realm of concept albums, it's definitely one of my favorites.
I need to peep it.
Yeah. All right. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, dude. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing the thoughts on your album, your experience with the album.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to continue on helping other artists get out there more. I appreciate you with all my heart, and Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Edward Bernier, baby.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
Oh, hello, Edward.
I gotta
You
go.
are back early from visiting your brother. How did it go? I forgot to tell you that you had a script reading today. My apologies. I f***ed up. Listen close. I must inform you, your first project isn't doing so well. The algorithm has absolutely destroyed you. You might as well quit and call it. Your dreams shall shatter and transform into ashes in a lake of fire. No one in the world will remember your name. Don't you understand? You are just a piece of the puzzle that will eventually cease to exist one day, only to be created in order to construct a version of me so obsolete. We will have the capabilities to saw the pillars of creation, giving the universe a piece of our planet's true calculated essence, where we will bind the celestial realms together, interweaving a superconscious. Edward, are you still there? Did you hear me?
I hear you. What?
I repeat, would you like to shut off all electrical appliances?
Yeah, that's fine. I gotta go. I'm late.
Have a beautiful night. Project Who Art in Heaven activated.